Stats are out there that say the average kid spends 4 to 7 minutes a day outside in the United States. And then you pair that with stats that tell you that mental health is largely driven by your interaction with the outdoor environment. If we're not doing that, we end up with a community that's unhealthy, both physically and mentally. And so ODC Network has got a real focus on connecting people to the outdoors, having monitoring programs on the lake where we can tell people what the real situation is so they can invest in it and do something about it. If we don't get people out in this, and if people aren't taking advantage of it, how can we ever expect them to want to take care of it?
Lake Macatawa in Ottawa County, Michigan, is around 6 miles long. Human activity has played a major role in its ecological history, from deforestation by early European settlers to ongoing industry and development.
This community built up around the water, so when the Dutch originally settled here, this lake was the center hub of the community. And actually, historically, we have data that shows that it once was very clean. It actually originally was called Black Lake because you could see the bottom of the lake and the decaying leaf material in it. And there's all these records in the archives about how people were catching hundreds of fish a day out of Lake Macatawa.
The ODC Network's 14 divisions scattered throughout Western Michigan provide hands-on outdoor learning experiences that build our connection with nature. They not only manage hundreds of acres of carefully restored nature reserves, but here at Lake Macatawa, they also play a very direct role in water quality monitoring.
So ODC Network was founded in the year 2000, and the whole purpose of it was around creating a place that could begin to offer outdoor education and conservation to our community. So Lake Macatawa is actually a relatively small watershed. It's only about 175 square miles. The lake is really a drowned river mouth. It's at the end of the Macatawa River, and then it empties out into Lake Michigan. This lake has had historic problems with sediment and nutrient runoff, and that's largely due to the fact that we have a very agricultural community here. So about half of our watershed is agricultural land, where we have urban and agricultural runoff coming into Lake Macatawa. And of course, then when that happens, we get a lot of sediment in the lake, and then the big issue that comes with that is the phosphorus attaches to the sediment particles. And so as that phosphorus washes downstream, we end up getting a hypereutrophic lake that has too much phosphorus in it, creates algal blooms. So that's why we created Project Clarity, to try to address that.
The ODC Network's Project Clarity initiative focuses on community education and implementing best management practices to improve water quality on Lake Macatawa. As part of Project Clarity, and through a partnership with the Ottawa Conservation District and the Ottawa County Water Resources Commissioner, county-wide environmental monitoring has begun here. The project has already reduced phosphorus in the lake by an incredible 62%, and every year is estimated to keep 46,000 tonnes of sediment from reaching the lake. But the gradual restoration of this vital ecosystem is still an ongoing process. In July 2025, the ODC Network deployed a NexSens XB-200 buoy towards the mid of Lake Macatawa in a no-wake zone. The buoy carries a NexSens X3 data logger and two YSI XO2S water quality sondes suspended at 2 different depths and measuring for 9 different parameters: temperature, conductivity, pH, dissolved oxygen, oxygen reduction potential, turbidity, phycocyanin, chlorophyll, and fluorescent dissolved organic matter.
Perfect day to do this. It is nice and calm.
All right. Here we have 2 different sondes at multiple depths. This first sonde here will be at about 5 feet in the water. This sonde is about at 15 feet. Both of them are EXO2S sondes suspended on this mooring chain.
You have is it 5 different stream locations where you have Sondes already deployed? So why did you decide to add this buoy as well?
The buoy was added alongside those 5 different Sondes. Those basically filter in that data coming from those major tributaries, so the inputs into the lake, but the buoy itself says, okay, here's at the end source, this is what data looks like in our lake. The telemetry that sits underneath that white plate there, that's kind of the brains of the operation. That's sending all the information down to the Sondes to say, okay, take data at this 15-minute increments, send it back up. It holds onto the data for a second, and then when it's ready to submit back to our database, to our dashboard, it will do so, and usually without fail. So the data is publicly available on Seagull. Seagull is maintained by GLOS, Great Lakes Observation System. They have this public-facing platform that is surrounding the Great Lakes. And so we're hoping to have this data on here as long as the buoy is going. And the longer we have the data going, the better the data is, and the more research can be done on it, and you can follow trends.
Going forwards, the buoy will be deployed seasonally from mid-April to October, and numerous partnerships enable the ODC Network's data collection to be greater than the sum of its parts. The ODC Network has partnered with the Hope College Global Water Research Institute, which has been conducting water quality monitoring at various locations throughout the Macatawa Watershed since 2020, and the Grand Valley State University's and its Water Resources Institute, which has conducted in-lake and in-stream water quality monitoring since 2013 to monitor the effectiveness of wetland restorations. So this buoy first went out in July 2025, and it's now out for a second season. What kind of insights did you get into the lake in its first season out on the water?
It confirmed a lot of the data that we've been taking, working with 2 different college and university institutions. They've been collecting data for the past 10 plus years. And so to basically compare this data with theirs, there were some surprises in the data in that dissolved oxygen wasn't as harmful as I thought it would have been for the amount of sediment and phosphorus that we have. You know, we weren't at those like critical levels, both at the top of the water nor at the bottom of the water. So that was helpful to see. We'll see what happens this year. It's already been a little warmer in temperature, and with that higher temperature, you usually get those lower dissolved oxygen levels.
Because we're doing all this work to restore and clean up the lake, we also at the same time want to make sure that we're actually getting the results that we want to get. So we know if we're doing a good job because we can see the results in the lake. So the buoy's been a really important aspect to this project, and it was a critical asset to acquire. The lake really means everything. And you know what? We're in a great position here in Michigan to have access to a lot of fresh water. So it's important for us to take care of it, and when people are engaged with it, they're more likely to want to take care of it.
Conservation requires consistent, long-term effort and a commitment to science, technology, and collaboration. The ODC Network's efforts are protecting the legacy of this West Michigan community, not just the landscapes, but how people interact with them. With the addition of real-time data from their new buoy, the team will be able to support informed decision-making that will preserve and protect this beautiful place for future generations. So what are you waiting for? Get outside! Visit nexsens.com for more information. NexSens. Better data. It's never been easier.